Hey guys, how's it going? It's Amy. I got tagged. So I got tagged by VSGBrittBratt for the pre-op to post-op video. Um, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, especially for those of you out there who are pre-op. Um, for a little bit of background, I had surgery about 10 months ago, I think. Yes, about 10 months ago, maybe 10 and a half months ago. The procedure that I had was a biliopancreatic diversion with a duodenal switch. Essentially, it's a modified duodenal switch, also commonly known as SIPS, although it's slightly different from SIPS because SIPS only has one anastomosis. I have two, like a traditional DS. So keep in mind, the things that I'm going to talk about tonight in terms of, things that I noticed from pre-op to now in the post-op stage that I'm in is unique to me. The things that I experienced or the things that noticed that I think are good things for me to remember might not apply to everybody, especially considering what procedure you're having, the details of your specific situation. You weren't, as in terms of BMI class, maybe you weren't as heavy as me, or maybe you're heavier than me. So just keep that in mind, that take it with a grain of salt, what I have to talk about tonight. Okay. Oh, my tea is hot. All right. So, a little bit more background. So when I was at my highest weight, I was 401 pounds. My surgery weight was 379 pounds. And I think as of this morning, I was 227. So I think for my highest weight, I'm down like 173 pounds right now. Yeah, so there's a little bit of history for you if you're new to my channel. If you're new to my channel, hey, how's it going? Welcome. But let's get into some of the stuff. I did write some notes here so we could go over there because I was giving it some thought when I watched VSGBrittBratt's video. I thought a lot of the stuff that she says was really great, so I really wanted to give it some thought about some things that I've noticed that I wish, I probably would have known during my pre-op stages. So let's talk a little bit about that. So first of all, pre-op preparations. One thing that I probably wish I had done more so was getting familiar with nutrition labels. Everybody is different. Every nutritionist is different. Some will tell you, depending upon the program, to only pay attention to net carbs. Some people say pay attention to total carbs. Every, nutritionist and, bariatric program will tell you differently. But I think the fundamentals is you have to know how to read labels, to know what it is that you're looking for. And hopefully your nutritionist office will give you some guidance. Like, for example, for my situation, they had told me to try to keep per serving fat and sugar in the single digits. So that really helped me early on. But you have to know how to read labels. You have to really be careful of the serving size, because if you buy a bag of something and you think this is really great, but there's, 3 or 4 servings in it, so you have to be really conscientious of that as you're making choices. And you will get there with time, as you go through it. But I wish I had done that a little bit before I had surgery. Maybe, just having awareness of that, I think, can be helpful. I would have recommended a couple of things that I would have done, before I had surgery, such as, tracking everything that I ate. Right now, I use MyFitnessPal. I've almost used it for a year, and I used it, during the beginning of my pre-op diet, but I really didn't know, I just kind of blindly ate, as a lot of us do. And there wasn't a whole lot of accountability. And when you start putting stuff into like MyFitnessPal or Lose It or whatever the app of your choice is, it really becomes apparent to you, what it is that you're eating. And that kind of goes in line with, reading the nutrition label. So I wish I'd done that a little bit more. Maybe I wouldn't have gained as much weight as I did. But there you go. Let's see. I would have taken more photos of myself pre-op. If you're like me, you don't want to see a picture of yourself. You hate the look of the person in the mirror. You avoid mirrors. I did it for a long time. I just avoided them. I did not want to see them. But now, you know, in retrospect, I wish I'd taken more pictures. I wish I had more pictures of me pre-op, because I want to do before and after photos. And there's only about a very small handful of photos out there that I have of myself pre-op at my heaviest. And I wish I had more to kind of compare. So as painful as it might be, for those of you who are pre-op, to look in the mirror, to have pictures, I would encourage you to have pictures of yourself. That includes, you know, like selfies, that includes body shots, because you will want to compare them later to see how far you have come. So I wish I had more pre-op pictures of me. I would have started to drink more water initially. Now it's not that big of a deal, but starting to cut out, you know, soda from your life, I think that's probably good. And that probably would have served me better if I had done that a little bit earlier. A big one for me is if you're pre-op and you smoke, I can't even stress this strongly enough. Quit smoking either weeks or months before your pre-op diet starts. If you're like me, when you're quitting smoking, because I've quit about 1,000 times, when you're quitting smoking, you eat more. So you're going to gain weight. I gained 20 pounds when I quit smoking. And you'd rather do that then instead of when you're on your pre-op diet or when you're, you know, immediately post-op. But, you know, do yourself a favor. Nicotine withdrawals is a legit thing, and it was awful for me. And you do not want to be going through your pre-op diet when you're fucking miserable and going through nicotine withdrawals at the same time. Forget about it. So if you, I mean, at least my doctor's office, my surgeon wouldn't even do surgery on somebody who was a smoker. I had to be 6 weeks clean, like smoke-free, before he would do surgery on me. Fortunately, I quit smoking before I even had my initial consult with him. So by the time I had surgery, I was 4 months smoke-free. So I would highly recommend that if you smoke, stop way before your pre-op diet starts, because you're going to be fucking miserable during your pre-op diet, and you don't need nicotine withdrawals to go through that as well. Okay. Food funerals. A lot of people may or may not have heard about food funerals. So the days leading up into your, maybe the week leading up into your pre-op diet, they say, you know, okay, your pre-op diet is going to start this date. So you want to eat like a crazy person, all the stuff that you think you're never going to have again, you know, the week leading up to it. For example, like we went out for like Italian food, and I would have pasta and garlic bread and all sorts of, you know, pizza and stuff like that, that I thought, well, I'm never going to have this again. So I'm going to enjoy it while I can. I'm going to enjoy it for this last week, and just, you know, because we have a fucked up relationship with food, right? So you want to have these, what they call food funerals. It's the last one, saying goodbye to pizza, saying goodbye to pasta, all this shit. Now that I'm 10 months out, I realize that those foods that I, had a food funeral for, they aren't necessarily going to be the last time you ever have that food. Granted, I don't eat pasta now, but that's not to say that I haven't had a couple of bites from somebody else or something like that. I would never go into a restaurant and order, you know, an entire plate of pasta, because there's no way I would eat it all. But that doesn't mean that I've never tried it again, or I won't in the future. So I have to constantly try now. Okay, this is hard to explain. Okay. You will be able to eat those foods again if you allow yourself to. I have to constantly try to make good decisions. Don't eat that stuff that's, you know, bad for me, even though I can now. So, like, I'm well past healing from my surgery, and my stomach isn't swollen anymore. I've got a tight restriction, certainly tighter than when I was pre-op, but, and I'll get into this a little bit, I can hold more capacity in my stomach now than I could first few weeks or months, you know, post-op. I can hold up to about 8 ounces now. Maybe that's pushing the limit. But there's no reason why I can't, whatever 8 ounces of anything I could put in there and I'll be full. But I have to focus on eating good things first. Protein, some good healthy fats, that sort of stuff. If I want to eat 8 ounces of pasta, sure, I fucking could, but that's not a wise decision to make. So you have to be really cognizant of the shit that you put in your mouth forever. Just because you will have the capacity in your stomach to eat it doesn't mean that you should. But it's also not to say that you can't go to the other extreme and say, I'm never going to have this ever again. So I'm never going to have pizza ever again. So I'm going to celebrate it or mourn it in my food funeral. Just keep that in mind. Because I've had pizza since then. I've had pizza and it's okay. Granted, before I could eat, oh my gosh, I hate to even tell you how much I could eat. I could probably eat 3 or 4 pieces of pizza. Now I can have 1. And that's kind of a lot of the carbs that I would have for the day. But I can have pizza if I want. That's what I'm trying to say. So for me, it's a little bit of a roller coaster. I kind of mentioned this before. So during the pre-op stage, trying to eat properly is difficult. You know, it's super hard. It's hella hard. Your stomach still has the capacity of a normal person. In fact, it's probably more than that because you've stretched it out by overeating for, a long time. So when you're on this pre-op diet and you're not eating very much and you're trying to lose weight and you're just having a lot of liquids or like lean and green, that sort of thing, you're fucking miserable. Like I said, you're also at this point weaning yourself off of the heavy carb zone that you've been living in for probably many, many, many years. You're used to eating lots and lots of carbs, and carbs make you feel good. Oh, they make you feel good. And when you don't have them, no bueno. You're not happy. At least I wasn't fucking happy. But so the pre-op diet thing was hard. It was really, really hard for me. However, immediately post-op, not eating very much was so easy. I just wasn't interested in food. Like I said earlier, you're fresh off of surgery. Your stomach is swollen from the surgery, so you don't have a whole lot of capacity, so it's easy not to eat very much. About 3 to 6 months post-op, you start seeing some results. Like you're losing weight like fucking crazy. So it's easy to stay motivated. You've got more energy, things are going great, you're feeling really on track, everything's great. Once you start getting, for me, like more than 6 months post-op, the novelty starts to wear off. This isn't new anymore, so it's not as, exciting. The weight loss will start to slow down because you're not losing as quickly as you did before. And it's really easy to fall back into like old familiar habits. For me, we're like the plus 6 months mark is when the holidays started coming up. So, old habits die hard. Your stomach is still restricted, don't get me wrong. But like I said, it has more capacity than it's used to. So it's easy to sneak a cracker here or sneak a cookie here or have a cocktail here, have a cocktail there. And it is a slippery slope, my friends. So you need to be careful. Slider foods, no good. And they're so easy. They will creep up on you faster than you think. And then all of a sudden, once again, you're back in the familiar carb zone and you need to wean yourself off, and that can be miserable too. So I think in those situations, you need to focus on the progress that you've made so far and use that to keep you motivated. Okay, so just remember that. Wow, I'm almost 14 minutes in and I still have a few more things I want to talk about. Thanks for sticking with me. Okay, so trying new foods. Some foods that you didn't like or you thought you wouldn't like pre-op, you may end up liking afterwards. Your taste buds do change to a degree. Not like, a complete 180, but they do change slightly. At least they did for me. So I think we always gravitate towards going for foods that we're familiar with, that we're comfortable with. Well, eating that kind of food kind of got into the whole obesity situation, didn't it? Time to try something new. So, for example, for me, pre-op, I always enjoyed sushi. Sushi was always really good, but I would get the rolls, and sometimes they would have tuna in them. Sometimes they would have like shrimp tempura with like those sweet eel sauces and stuff like that. And that was really great. But I never thought I would like sashimi. Like raw fish, fuck no, not interested. Not interested at all. And then one day we were out and I had been craving sushi so badly. And, I know I can't have rice. That's not a wise move. I probably could if I wanted to, but I just didn't want to. So we went out to a sushi restaurant and I wanted sushi. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try sashimi. Just raw slices of tuna and I'll dip it in the wasabi and soy sauce. And by God, if I didn't love it. It was so good. And if I hadn't decided to try that, something that I didn't think that I would like, because it kind of grossed me out, the whole notion of it grossed me out, I would have lost out on a great source of protein. And I have it at least once a week. I have some, whether it be I have it here or when we go out, but I have sushi or like raw tuna at least once a week. Whether it be I made a poke bowl or whatever, once a week. And it's an awesome source of protein, 0 carbs. If I hadn't stepped outside my comfort zone, I never would have tried it and I would have missed out. So there's an example for you. Okay, let's see. What else do I got here? Another tip for those of you, and I don't want this to freak you out, but weight loss surgery, it ain't cheap. It is not something for a really cheap, financial lifestyle. So living a successful lifestyle after weight loss surgery isn't necessarily cheap. It probably can be done, a little bit cheap, but you have to keep in mind you have expenses. So you've got monthly vitamins. You got to take multivitamins for the rest of your life. If you had the procedure that I did, or if you had RNY, or, a traditional duodenal switch. Maybe not so much VSG because they only have the restriction. I can't say to that. You'll have to speak with your doctor. But for me, with mine, I've got malabsorption. So there's no doubt I have to take monthly vitamins. So let's say that's about $100 a month. Okay. For me, and I'm not sure for those of you who are post-op can attest to this, but for me, eating healthy, it can be expensive. All the stuff at the grocery stores that are cheap, according to your wallet, cheap, they're all processed. They've got shit tons of chemicals in them, and they're not good for you. They're mostly carbs. That stuff is all really, really cheap. So if you think about it, like post weight loss surgery, when I do grocery shopping, I don't really stay too much in the center. I kind of stick to the perimeter of the grocery store. So I go to, the cheese, the meats, the produce. I don't really go to the inside of the store all that much, where all the, the packaged stuff is, stuff that doesn't have to be refrigerated, maybe for some tuna or canned meat or something like that. But the stuff along the perimeter of the grocery store, and that stuff's expensive, cheese and meat and produce, that shit is not cheap. So you need to keep your financial situation in mind to a degree when you decide to have the surgery. It's easy to only think about the costs associated with the surgery itself, time off of work, paying for the actual surgery, but you need to think about the recurring costs that will come through afterwards, for example, for taking vitamins and buying healthy foods. Healthy, fresh foods. I mean, frozen foods are okay too, but instead of all that prepackaged shit. So just keep that in mind too. I don't want to scare anybody by, if your financial situation, is a little bit tight right now. I don't want what I'm saying to scare you out of having the surgery, because it might be, a life-saving thing, but you just need to understand that eating healthy and maintaining that can be expensive. It's certainly more expensive than just eating, frozen fucking dinners and, really cheap prepackaged, craft dinner for 69 cents a box. Just saying. So, another thing that's really helped me, throughout, this whole experience is meal prep and time management. So I get it. We all lead really, really busy lives. Eating foods of convenience, kind of like what I mentioned before, the stuff that's processed, that's cheap, that's like sits in the middle section of the grocery store, like I was talking about. Excuse me. And like things like fast food when you're out at the restaurants. They taste delicious, but they're really inexpensive. they're very convenient, which is nice, but they offer zero nutritional value and they're loaded with carbs. Those are not good choices for us to make. Certainly, some fast food restaurants, there are the healthier options or the healthiest options that are available. And sure, those are okay once in a while. But instead of doing that and relying on that, and the sodium content is really high in those, I take the time to do some food preparations every week. So for me, I do a little bit of food prep every Sunday. When I say food prep, I don't mean like cutting up veggies and all that sort of stuff, although I do that sometimes. When I say food prep, I cook some essentially meals. I'll make like a casserole that's made with like chicken and broccoli and some like mushroom soup and lots of mozzarella cheese, stuff that's really high protein, low carb. And then I portion it out for like 5 meals. So that way, or I'll do, so for example, what else have I done? So I did that, or I'll make a stir fry and portion it out. And that way it's easily accessible when I get hungry. And if I'm more hungry than just like a little snacky, like if I want more than a P3 or more than a yogurt, I don't gravitate towards things that are convenient and quick, like crackers. Like before, if I'm hungry, I would just go grab some crackers and I would just munch on those. And that was great because it was convenient. But if I plan properly, I can have something else just within reach, just like I would have crackers, but it's a smarter choice. So you might not be a huge fan of leftovers. I get it. But if you can make something and divide it into 5 portions, yeah, I'm okay with that. I can suck it up for 5 days and eat the same 2 or 3 things, per day for a week. I generally always do something different for dinner every night, but my breakfast is always generally the same for the week. My lunch is generally the same for the whole week, and maybe some snacks, my morning snack or my afternoon snack. Sometimes I change it up. But if I can just suck it up for 5 days, Monday through Friday, then that's fine with me. That's fine with me. Otherwise, I'm not picking all those slider foods I was talking about. Hope that makes sense. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was activity level. During pre-op stages, for me, and for those of you who are also pre-op, you can probably feel what I'm saying. We're often plagued, with lots of health issues, whether it be, you got a sore back, you got ankle issues, knee issues, whatever. And that prevents us from doing a whole lot of exercise. And it doesn't feel good. We don't want to do it. And quite frankly, the idea of doing any sort of exercise is kind of laughable. Like I can't do it. I can't do it. It hurts too much. It hurts too much. So for me, my highest weight was like 401 pounds. I had sore joints. I had a sore back. I had sore ankles. The notion of doing exercise, it was completely overwhelming. Like, where do I even start? Everything hurts. Everything would hurt. I broke a sweat when I would have to run some errands, like just moving to and from my car. Like, it's embarrassing. But it's true. It's absolutely true. But you have to realize that any movement is better than no movement, right? As long as you're doing something more than what you're currently doing, then that's all you need to do. Start small. Don't think about, oh fuck, I can't walk a mile. That's fine. You don't have to right now. Ease your way into it. So just start by walking. A very slow pace. So I'm fortunate enough that I have a treadmill in my house. So that's not to say that I couldn't walk outside, but at least with the treadmill, I was able to see visually what my pace was and what my duration was easily. So that way I could start kind of tracking it and working from there. So I started really slow. I started walking at 2 miles per hour, I think. And that's a slow pace. And that was comfortable for me. And by the time, so I started at 2 miles per hour at 20 minutes. And I would do that for 1 week. And I'll tell you, by the end of that 20 minutes, when I was 400 pounds, I was sweating my balls off. But it was doable. It wasn't overwhelming. I had my heart rate up, and it was just for 20 minutes at 2 miles per hour. And I did that 5 days a week. I always do my exercises, my planned exercises, Monday through Friday. It's important to me that I take the weekends off from that to let my body heal. I did not want to push myself too hard, especially at that point, because, and that's what my doctor had told me, that I don't want you, Amy, to blow a knee out because you pushed yourself too hard and now you can't do any exercise for 6 weeks. So I took that to heart, and I still do it. So I will work out, or I'll do my exercise on the treadmill Monday through Friday. So I started, like I said, 2 miles per hour for 20 minutes. And I did that for a whole week. And then the next week I would do the same pace, but I would do 25 minutes, 5 minutes longer than the last week. And I would do that for a week. And then the next week I did 30 minutes. And then the next week I did 35, 40, and I went all the way up to 45. So now by the end of that, I'm going still that slow pace, but I'm doing it for longer. I'm doing it for 45 minutes. And then I would do that for a couple of weeks, maybe a week or two. And then I would start to push myself harder. So I would continue to do 45 minutes. But instead of doing 2 miles per hour the whole time, I would do 2 miles per hour for 10 minutes. And then I would do 2.5 for 5 minutes. And then 2.5 for 10 minutes. And I would slowly, incrementally raise it just a little bit every week. And I would always do the same thing for a week. And then the next week I would push myself just a little bit harder. And then I would do, eventually I would get to the entire thing as 2.5, and then I would ratchet up the following week, do most of it 2.5, but then I would kick it up to 3 and I would keep increasing it, little duration by 3 miles per hour up until I was doing a whole 45 minutes of 3.0 per hour. And then I would ratchet up. So I just continued to push myself a little bit harder. So that way it was so gradual that it was easy for me to, not easy, it was easier for me to do it, and it wasn't overwhelming. There's no time limit here, guys. You don't have to be going from 0 to 60 in 0.3 fucking seconds. Take your time. Go at a good pace. If you feel that was too much to push myself too hard, then ease off a little bit. This is up to you. Nobody's watching except for you. So be honest with yourself and push yourself as hard as you can without breaking. You know your limits. You are stronger than you think. You have been probably obese for years. You are stronger than you think. You can believe in yourself. I believe in you. You know your body. So just go at your own pace. And that's completely okay. And that's what I did. Now, granted, I could do that because I was in the comfort of my own home and I felt okay doing that. But you know what? No matter where I am, I could give a fuck what other people think. This is me. I'm doing this for me. This is my journey. And I'm okay with it. If you're not, then you can turn your pretty little head away and not look, because if you're looking for your beeswax, it's not over here. This is my beeswax, and I will go however the fuck I want. You know what I mean? So those are the things, I guess, that I would recommend, from a pre-op to post-op. Now, keep in mind, I'm not done yet. I'm only 10.5 months out. I don't have all the answers. I hope I continue to learn and figure this whole thing out. For those of you out there who are post-op and I would love to know. Sorry, my cup's in the way. I would encourage you. In fact, I tag you to do this same video for all the newbies and the pre-ops out there, depending upon what type of, procedure you're having. I would encourage you to also do one of these videos. I'm really glad that VSGBrittBratt tagged me in this. I'm not going to tag any specific person, but if you are post-op, I tag you. So please do a video for our pre-op friends. We were there once. Sometimes it seems like it was yesterday. Sometimes it seems like it was, 1,000 years ago. So we're still learning. These are things that I wish that I would have known, and things that I have learned since I was pre-op to now post-op. All right, guys, I hope you're all well. I will talk to you all later.